Learn how you too can save the planet one loofah at a time. Okay, these loofah gourds are dry and definitely ready to process. Hear those seed in there? Now I want to get the peelings off, but I want to make sure I keep the seed. Cut off both edges. Of course, I've got it right down here to catch the seed. Then I'll cut off the big end. You sure don't want to use your favorite pair of scissors because it will definitely dull them. Now, you're really not going to get all the seed out without really cutting it open, but you can get out as much as you can. Go ahead and cut the ends off, get the seed out, and then soak them in a bucket of water. And then the seeds really do. Look how quick that was. Also got a wasp in there. Now that really went quick, but I've still got some seed in there, and so this would not be good to save the seed that was left in because you got it wet and you'd have to really be sure and dry it really good. But that does make the process much quicker, which I normally wouldn't use because I want to save my seed. Of course, I do it the hard way to save more of the seeds. Okay, let's just start peeling this open. Now the loofah blooms all summer long up until the first frost. You want it for your honeybees, for your pollinators, for your butterflies. It has big yellow flowers, and I mean they can get up to 5 inches across. The yellow flowers will produce from summer to first frost and are an important food source for honeybees, hummingbirds, and other pollinators. Flowers can grow up to 5 inches across and will provide pollen and nectar even in rainy weather. Put them in the compost pile, they'll break down, but they've really had an interesting history. Back during World War II, they were used as a filter for the diesel and steam engines. They were used as liners in the army helmets. They were used even in surgical operations. And I don't know how they used them in surgical operations. I'm sure they sterilized them somehow. Okay, now I've got my loofah nice and clean. Now some people may bleach them, but I think they need to be kept at their natural golden color. Now at this point, I could use it for a dry brush. I could get it wet in the shower, use it as a back scrubber. But what I like to do is maybe cut it in half, and I use it in my sink as a pot scrubber and a dish rag. Okay, now this is an annual that produces a long vine up to 20 feet and sponge-like gourds. Some may mistake these for sea sponges. All species are edible and produce gourds. Now the two main species, one is grown for their fruit, and the common loofah is grown for its 1 to 2 foot gourds. Okay, let's grow some loofahs. Loofahs are a tropical vine and will not tolerate any cold weather. Use the same guidelines that you would for cucumbers, except they have a much longer growing season, 3 to 4 months. They need full sun, humid soil, and adequate water. Now these will need upright support like a trellis. You might even try an overhead trellis and the loofahs will hang down. Flowers are rich in pollen, and the female flowers provide a moderate amount of nectar. The loofah vine has male and female flowers on the same vine. After pollination, the male flower will drop off while the female flower will stay attached to the fruit. When the fruit is young, it can be eaten like zucchini, used like okra, or eaten curry. And by young, I mean pencil-sized, 4 inches or less. Now, we normally couldn't find them when they were that small because the loofahs hide in between the leaves. Now, if you live north of the Mason-Dixon line, you will need to plant your seeds in pots indoors in February or March. Wait until the soil is warm. 70 to 85 degrees, and nighttime temperatures must be above 55. Do not get in a hurry. The slightest cold spell will set them back. Germination takes 7 to 10 days. You can soak the seeds overnight for faster germination. Plant 2 seeds 1 inch deep per hill, 1 to 4 feet apart. When seedlings have come up, pull up the weaker plant of the two, leaving 1 plant per hill. When they get about a foot tall, use jute twine or other trellis twine and tie loosely to the trellis. When they get 10 feet long, pinch back the tip of the vine so it will bush out with more vines. When those vines get 10 feet long, pinch those tips back. In a good growing season, you can expect 25 gourds per plant. Now, summer has come and the loofahs have finally started to bloom. Now, these vines pictured below were from 4 plants. Now, remember, they require a long growing season, 3 to 4 months, and the vines can grow 10 to 20 feet long. Now, loofah needs 3 to 4 months to mature on the vine. The bigger the gourd, the longer it will take to mature. They can be anywhere from 6 inches long to more than 2 feet. It is ready to harvest when it turns yellow or brown. When you squeeze them, they should feel a little hollow. Now, the best way is to pick them from the vine and let them dry for 1 to 2 weeks. Now, we were impatient and harvested them a little early. We did not let them dry for 1 to 2 weeks. Now, we still had to let them set out to dry, and they were not as pretty as if we had left them dry naturally in their skins. Okay, now, these that were peeled before they dried in their skin were more prone to mold and mildew. Now, see, I have plenty of seed to save. And this loofah really makes about the right size. You know, it can be anywhere from this long. If it grew late in the season, it may be really short. But what you don't want, one year we bought some that were about 2 feet or more long. And this is a case where bigger is not better. These just would not mature before the first frost. They grew so big they did not ripen by first frost. We were forced to pick them before they turned yellow or brown. We placed them on racks in the greenhouse where we had a heater, and we managed to save some, but many of them rotted. Now, I have read since then that I could have simmered these green loofahs until tender, cooled, and then peeled them. And of course, that is assuming I could have found a pot big enough. I have not tried this, but will definitely give it a try when I have green loofahs. Now, when dried and peeled, the spongy-like fibrous skeleton is used for everything from skin care as an exfoliant to pot scrubbers to stuffings and mattresses and crafted for many projects. It can be embroidered and dyed. Split and flatten it to use as a soap saver or to clean your tub. Now, hint, they are much easier to cut when they are wet, will flatten out more, and will be much more flexible for craft projects. But remember to remove the remaining seeds. Now, you can place a heavy object on the loofahs while they are wet to flatten them out even more. But don't forget to place a dry, clean cloth down first, or you will have these dark spots on your loofah. Okay, when caring for your loofah, you want to keep it dry. Loofahs can harbor bacteria. Rinse and dry your loofah after each use. Do not store in the bathroom. It's way too humid. Once a week, clean the loofah in boiling water or on the top shelf of your dishwasher. Now, you can bleach them, but it will shorten their life. That's 1 tablespoon of bleach to 1 quart of water. And you might be an herbalist if you grow loofahs to use for compostable dish rags and pot scrubbers instead of synthetic pollutants. And don't forget, you will also be feeding the honeybees and butterflies. Like, subscribe, and share so you don't miss more of these natural tips.